Hello, everyone. I'm Jim Garrison, and I want to welcome you to day 84 of Humanity Rising. We convened Humanity Rising on May 22nd and went for the next 83 days till on August 13th, we took a break, and we are now reconvening on September 1, and we'll go now every Monday through Friday, probably through early or mid-December. Ubiquity University is the principal convener with about 350 to 400 other partnering organizations. We've been broadcasting live on over 40 partner channels to 15 to 20,000 people every day. We're especially grateful to the Sign Network for all the help and partners they've brought in to IDNCO and a range of other organizations that are live streaming our events. The purpose of Humanity Rising, just to recall things, is that we are going through an unprecedented human experience. The pandemic, the coronavirus. And we wanted to offer out just essentially a space, a sacred space every day, so that people from all over the world could come together and share what it's like going through this extraordinary, unprecedented event where we're all under lockdown still. The pandemic is still with us. It was reported just a few days ago that the number of cases worldwide is now over 30 million. India, just a few days ago, set the world record for the number of reported cases in a 24-hour period at nearly 80,000. The United States has by far, in relationship to population, the highest number of cases and deaths. 4% of the human population, but 20% of all the cases. And nearly 190,000 of the deaths. One of the extraordinary things that's been happening in the United States, but also around the world, is that all the way through the pandemic, oriented principally around race and police brutality, there have been over 11,000 separate protests and actions since the death of George Floyd May. So the pandemic is not only stopping our world, the pandemic is creating fissures, the energetic quality, the centrifugal quality of COVID-19 is creating fissures in our world. And as we reconvene on September 1, it's unclear how much longer the pandemic is going to last. It's not clear how we're going to be getting our economy really back to speed. And if so, are we going to go back to business as usual? Or are we going to move forward into a new way of doing business that puts at the center of human concern, human well-being, as opposed to profit? These are just some of the questions that challenge all human beings, because the pandemic has put us all in the same conversation. It's an extraordinary moment. So we felt that the optimal way to reconvene on September 1, 2020, with the future so uncertain, is around the public publication of a brand new book, Our Moment of Choice. I think that may be the truest thing one can say about the human civilization on planet Earth right now. We have come to a moment of choice. And scientists around the world are telling us that how we choose may determine the fate of human civilization on this planet. And we only have a few years, because one of the things that was reported during our break is that the ice cap on Greenland is now in irretrievable retreat. It's past the point of no return. So these next few years, and certainly the decade of the 2020s, is a choice point like never before for the human race. And the pandemic is just one point in an escalating crescendo of crises and challenges that will now beset us, depending on the choices we make. Our moment of choice. That's the session for today. Now I'm absolutely delighted to be able to introduce Sabina von Gafka, who you've all seen. She's moderated a number of panels already, especially at the beginning when we opened with 10 days of women's voices from around the world. We've met through that, and she's a social entrepreneur extraordinaire and enhances impact development for women and people organizations around the world. Sabina, I'm delighted and honored that you are willing to co-moderate the next phase of Humanity Rising with me. And I'll turn the podium over to you.
Thank you so much, Jim. And it truly is also for me an honor and a blessing to be part of Humanity Rising and to be part of, like you said, we all are in the same conversation. And I feel that the mission of Humanity Rising to really consolidate that conversation in a platform with all these evolutionary leaders and thinkers and solutions that are out there, that we can have conversations and dialogues around what is needed in the next step forward, and also create inspired actions and a new version of ROI, which I more would say are ripples of impact, because it really is a time for unity and collaboration. And it truly is sparked by conversations and sort of creating that new narrative, a narrative that is born out of a regenerative and integrated humanity. And that is also why today's session that we start with is not only extremely exciting and inspirational, but so timely. And like you said, that our moment of choice truly, truly is now. And our moment of choice is at hand. There's never been a more urgent or prominent moment for humanity to come together and also realize our interconnectedness and how we can collectively choose to hold the greatest vision of what we can be and of what we can do together, and also how we can visualize a future. Because I think at the moment we are in this paradigm shift where humanity also needs a new vision, a new alternative of what kind of future can we create and how can we create it. Humanity needs navigation at the moment, and that's why I feel a book like Our Moment of Choice is so imperative, because 43 of the world's most insightful, evolutionary, generous, heartfelt, but also very knowledgeable leaders and thinkers and authors coming together to create this narrative of how we step forward in the world, and also of what I understand with self-practices, so that we can actually understand how can we lead and how do we want to be led to really create a united future that just isn't a saying anymore. It actually is a moment of choice. Of every choice we make in our daily lives are the ripples of impact of how we can create the path forward. And today, like Jim mentioned, we have the privilege of meeting and listening to the co-editors of this book, and we'll also be meeting 3 of the authors who each have contributed with a chapter, who themselves are, I mean, amazing thinkers and evolutionary leaders, with Jean Houston, Ervin Laszlo, and Jude Currivan. And to moderate and facilitate this session, I want to give a short introduction to Dr. Kurt Johnson, a global interspiritual pioneer, scientist, and also author of Light on Light publication. He's also part of the Evolutionary Leaders Circle, a project that sprung out of the Source of Synergy Foundation. And it's a worldwide community, if you don't know of it, of visionary authors, scientists, teachers, entrepreneurs, spiritual leaders, and truly social change agents who have established a collective platform, let's say an ecosystem, to accelerate human evolution to the next level of consciousness, because that's where we need to aim. We can't solve our problem from the consciousness that we are now at. We need to give it leverage and see it out of a new perspective. And the book, Our Moment of Circle, has emerged among the members of this Evolutionary Leaders Circle. And Kurt is also the publisher, if you have time for more insightful readings, of 3 important and engagement e-magazines, The Convergence, Light on Light, and Conscious Business. So with that, I say a warm welcome to Kurt and all of his panelists, and I hand over the word to you, Kurt.
Well, thank you so much, Jim and Sabrina. So I'm here now with the book team that created Our Moment of Choice. So first, Dr. Robert Atkinson, one of the editors, tell us about how the book came about.
Bob, you're on mute.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Kurt. Yeah, it's great to be here with you all on Humanity Rising. Our moment of choice is a testament to how rewarding teamwork can be. It was synergy in action that brought this book into being. After having an idea for a book like this with many of the same contributors in 2012, it wasn't until I became a member of the Evolutionary Leaders Circle in 2018 that I proposed the idea to Diane and Deborah. That's when I found out that Evolutionary Leaders had a similar book project about 10 years ago, but it wasn't completed. With the decision to move ahead, Deborah and Kurt agreed to be co-editors with me. A proposal with some guiding questions was sent to all the evolutionary leaders, and many quick responses came back from those who wanted to contribute a chapter. We were serendipitously led to Beyond Words, an imprint of Simon and Schuster. That was another wonderful team to work with. The book came together quite smoothly in about a year. The title, Our Moment of Choice, was from Greg Braden and the earlier Evolutionary Leaders book project. It's even more relevant right now. The subtitle, Evolutionary Visions and Hope for the Future, captures what the evolutionary leaders are all about and also expresses how confident we are in humanity to make this course correction before it is too late. The book is organized into 7 thematic circles to illustrate that from the decay of an old worn-out system of hierarchy and separation, a new story is emerging, one of wholeness, equity, and unity. All the chapters are tied together as threads of one tapestry. In this new story, bridges are being built across boundaries to form a global community and create a culture of peace. This new story in which the entire this is a new story in which the entire universe is alive and conscious, in which we are stewards of both ecological balance and economic integrity, in which we work with the mind, body, spirit connection to heal ourselves and the planet, in which we use education and research to awaken, elevate, and evolve consciousness, in which we view the entire cosmos as a fully integrated whole, and in which we envision the whole to support sustainability, prosperity, and global transformation. That's a pretty quick version of how the book came to be.
Hey, Bob, thanks so much. Now, Diane Marie Williams, founder of the Source of Synergy Foundation, the parent and the host of the Evolutionary Leaders Circle. So Diane, tell us about the mission of the Source of Synergy Foundation and about the purpose of the book.
Thank you so much, Kurt. I'm delighted to be here. I'd like to express my gratitude to Jim Garrison and everybody from Humanity Rising for bringing us all together today, and to Jude for making this wonderful opportunity happen. So I'd like to start by saying that we see our book, Our Moment of Choice, Evolutionary Visions and Hope for the Future, written by 43 extraordinary members of our Evolutionary Leaders Circle, as a collective call for deeper synergy, for the whole to be greater than the sum of its parts. And the Source of Synergy Foundation was built on the recognition that our essence is source, a single field of consciousness out of which everything emerges, where we're united as one. And because of the deep knowing within each of us that we're one, a unified whole in the cosmos, there is a longing rooted in all of us since our origins to be more deeply connected with each other. So there's a real pull towards synergy as we go through this cosmic journey as a collective we. And now a part of the collective we, planet Earth and all of its inhabitants, are in trouble. We are facing a very critical moment of choice. And what humanity does at this moment in time will determine the destiny of not only our species, but countless others on the planet. So today's times are really calling for us to step into our full power as a global family with a deepened sense of meaning and purpose and commitment. And what is required now is really a worldwide effort from every corner of the globe, so dramatic that it will change the very fabric of our reality. So every choice we make and every action we take now has the weight, but also the blessing of that responsibility, because we're at a choice point now, and where we choose to go, where we choose to fully bring the light of consciousness into the world really matters. And luckily, there's a powerful movement taking place of millions of people leading this evolution through everyday choices and actions that are in the best interest of the whole. And as a result, offering real hope for the future. So we see our moment of choice as a contribution to this larger movement. And it's our hope that the evolutionary visions and resources and action steps offered in the book will offer direction and hope as we navigate these times. And as a result, ignite this momentum of this conscious evolutionary movement for global transformation. So in closing, I wish to say that we very much look forward to partnering more closely with everyone tuning into this program, with Humanity Rising, as well as everyone that's being called to manifest into being the new. So let's keep connecting. We'd like to invite all of you listening to join. It's a book, it's a program, it's a movement, our Moment of Choice book launch this afternoon at 2 p.m. Eastern on Facebook Live. That's facebook.com/our moment of choice. You can also find it at facebook.com/unify, sorry. And also, if you'd like to receive notices about future programs, activities, and opportunities, you can sign up on our website, ourmomentofchoice.com. And we just so look forward to collaborating with you. And thank you so much for your service to the evolution.
Well, thank you, Diane. And now to the Reverend Deborah Moldow, who's director of the Evolutionary Leaders and also one of the book's editors. So, Deborah, tell us about the purpose of the Evolutionary Leaders and who contributed to the book.
Thank you, Kurt. And thank you to Humanity Rising. We're really delighted to be here because the Evolutionary Leaders, it's a community of visionaries, of social activists and social artists, and many people who are right on the leading edge of conscious evolution. In other words, the concept that the choices that we make right now are going to determine actually the evolution of our species. And at this critical moment of choice, we'll determine whether or not we get to stay on this beautiful planet that we have caused some pretty serious harm to. So it's the Evolutionary Leaders came about 12 years ago by a collaboration between the Source of Synergy Foundation and Deepak Chopra, and also the Association for Global New Thought. And people came together who had been speaking on panels together and writing books that had similar themes, but didn't have a chance to really be together as a community. And this community has grown over the years. We now have 186 evolutionary leaders who grow from within and stay active with the community, because I think they appreciate being able to have community and bounce ideas off of one another and learn from all of the exciting work that each of these leaders is doing. And everyone who contributed to the book, that is 43 writers, is part of this evolutionary leaders circle. And some of them are very well known to you, like some of our guests today on this wonderful program celebrating the launch of the book. And others maybe you haven't heard of yet, but you're going to love their visions that are put forth in this book. So the book is a kind of a feast. It's 37 different chapters organized in circles that are about different themes that offer ways forward, ways out of the box that we've been living in, that our civilization has created. And so light comes in when you open the box, right? And you can see pathways to a very different kind of future where humanity can truly live in harmony with one another and with all life on this beautiful planet that gives us everything. So I'm delighted that we're here on book launch day. You can find out more about the book at ourmomentofchoice.com. So we're here with all of you. And you who are listening to this program from Humanity Rising, who are part of Ubiquity University, you are leading the evolution, along with all of the people around the world who are truly opening their hearts to a new way of being together. And together we can make a difference if we truly believe that right now is our moment of choice. Thank you.
So Deborah, yeah, thanks so much. And of course, I was also one of the editors of the book, and it was such a thrill working with all of these visionary authors and then with the team to structure the book in a way that we're really excited addresses all the challenges that the world right now is facing. So now to the team, each of you are also involved in contributing chapters to the book and also in writing the preface or the epilogue. So let's talk about that. So Deborah, you co-wrote the preface of the book and also contributed a chapter to Circle 1, Bridge Building. So tell us about that.
Well, in terms of the preface to the book, Diane and I really wanted everybody to understand where it was coming from, because as Diane was saying, this book is a work of synergy. It's a product of the Source of Synergy Foundation, and each of the evolutionary leaders who has contributed to the book has written wonderful, brilliant things on their own. But in this book, we come together as a collective, and that's what needs to happen now. So that was truly the theme of the preface. My own work as an interfaith minister and as the founder of the Garden of Light is to recognize this moment spiritually on planet Earth. Something is happening that nobody's looking at. I call it the quiet revolution, where a new sense of spirituality is emerging that is not dependent on whether you belong to a religion or not. It's a universal, not only set of values, but a way of looking at the world. And I think it's very exciting. And I think that it really gives us hope for the future.
Okay, Deborah, thanks. Now, Diane, you co-wrote the preface with Deborah and also contributed a chapter to Circle 6, New Frontiers Beyond Space and Time. So tell us about your contributions.
Yes, thank you, Kurt, and thanks, Deborah, for sharing about the preface. My chapter is called Putting on Our Red Capes, Activating Our Superpowers. And I think one of the greatest choices we can make right now is to upshift to the next level of human evolution by fully activating our innate supercapacities and powers that we're all equipped with, and to operate at the most advanced level that human beings can possess. So with our current global emergency, climate emergency, the pandemic, the racial inequality, and a worldwide human identity crisis, it's time to become better acquainted with these superpowers. And Nikola Tesla once said, the day science begins to study non-physical phenomena will make more progress in 1 decade than in all the previous centuries of its existence. And this includes techniques like linking through the heart, the power of intention setting, quantum non-local communication, including communicating with other intelligences, as well as the living intelligent field that connects us all. And it's so inspiring to see so many people today utilizing their superpowers and leading us to a new way of living. And just a quick example is Lynn McTaggart's intention experiments and power of 8 groups. They're showing us what the power of oneness can do when a small group of people come together with an intention. People are healing each other and the environment as little as 10 minutes, leaving scientists and the medical establishment truly astonished. And if you're not familiar with the story of Superman, he was from the fictional planet Krypton. And when Krypton was facing its impending demise, his parents put him on a small spaceship and sent him to Earth, a more habitable planet. And finding a more habitable planet might be something we will be confronted with in the not too distant future if we can't turn things around, especially runaway climate change. And on Earth, he was given the name Clark Kent by his adopted parents. And in turn, he expressed his gratitude for his new family and adopted planet by using his superpowers for good. And when Clark Kent took off his glasses and put on his suit and red cape to become Superman, it enabled him to shift his perception of reality and become invincible. And his capabilities included like X-ray vision to see through objects like our modern day medical intuitives are doing, healing himself and others, including making himself immune to all forms of diseases, toxins, and viruses. And now more than ever, it's important that we also shift our perception of what we can accomplish and tap into our true identity as superhuman beings. Because it's going to take the full recognition and activation of our inherent potential to ascend through the dimensions of space, time, and limitations to move into the quantum field where all is possible. And that's exactly what our world needs right now. So thank you.
Well, Diane, thanks so much. And of course, I also co-wrote with Bob the epilogue to the book, and Bob's going to tell you more about that. And I wrote with Dr. David Sloan Wilson a chapter in the first circle of the book, Bridge Building, about how mainstream science is coming into synergy with the great wisdom traditions because of recent changes in evolutionary theory. Based on the newest proofs in evolutionary science, we now know that when groups make decisions, they make those decisions based on what serves the larger whole. And selfish decisions only come in at the lowest levels of evolutionary action. So the old adage of survival of the fittest still remains true, but the definition of fitness changes to the best cooperator, not the best competitor, as you go up the ladder, and especially when conscious choice is involved. So in cultural evolution, which is most often based on conscious choice, evolution will choose what serves the whole. So this is a huge sea change in mainstream science, showing that evolutionary process is in sync with the values and ideals of both the great wisdom traditions and with the global transformative community. So Bob, you co-wrote the epilogue with me, and you also contributed a chapter to Circle 7, the big picture. So Bob, tell us about your contributions.
Yeah, thank you, Kurt. It was a real pleasure to co-author the epilogue with you. So my chapter, A Holistic Vision of Evolution and Consciousness, does offer a big picture perspective of what ties all things together in this vast creation. I began with an our prevailing views of evolution, which basically are that some people live with a consciousness that only certain things evolve, while others see all things as evolving. And right there, with it, we have those conflicting views that highlight the need to transcend the consciousness of duality that separates us. So if we have a holistic view of reality, as the Buddha did, when he said that all things originate from one essence and are destined to one aim, we would see that the nature of evolution is quite different than many people understand it. This view tells us that evolution in all realms is tied together, is purposeful, directional, and leads to a desired outcome. This is played out over many spiritual epochs that have each brought about a leap in consciousness. That also means that the nature of consciousness is to evolve toward a desired outcome as well, toward the innate potentiality of wholeness and unity. A look at social and cultural evolution over many centuries shows that we have passed through the stages of unity of family, of tribe, of city-state, and nationhood. Next in our collective evolution is world unity. We are coming to realize that our collective strength is in our unity of purpose as a human family. In order to live into unity and wholeness, we must have a set of unifying principles to live by. These would be determined by what characterizes the spirit of our age, which in our time is a consciousness of the oneness of humanity. We need to live by a set of principles that would help bring this consciousness into being. And that's what this chapter covers.
Well, Bob, thanks so much. And thanks to the whole team. I mean, it was an absolute thrill to work with you for what's nearly 2 years now on this book. And it was all as smooth and enjoyable as doing this segment with you. Now, I know that Jim Garrison is waiting to interview several of the really iconic authors that are part of this book. So Jim, thanks for that, and over to you.
Thank you, Kurt, and thank you, Bob, Diane, Deborah. I hope the book hits the New York Times bestseller list and that it gets global recognition because that's what it richly deserves. It's my honor now to hold a brief dialogue for the next 30, 40 minutes with three of the principal authors of the book, Jude Currivan, who all of you know, who's the founder of the WholeWorld-View and been active in this movement for decades. Jean Houston, again, who's been on Humanity Rising several times now, and you all know one of the great pioneers of the human potential movement, the social artistry movement, who's been working tirelessly globally to empower women and the artistic renaissance of humankind. And Ervin Laszlo, who has been well known to all of us, I'm sure, for many decades as well, one of the great cosmologists, the founder of the Club of Budapest, which was a parallel organization to the Club of Rome, now has the Laszlo Institute for New Paradigm Research. All three of these individuals are on the cutting edge of human intellectual and I would say social development at a moment when our evolutionary longevity and duration depends on our capacity to engage in new thinking, a new story, and a new way of being in the world, and a new relationship with Gaia as Mother Earth. So I'd like to start with you, Jean, and ask you the following question. This session is about our moment of choice. given what you're witnessing in the world today, if you had to prioritize our choices, what to you is the most critical choice that human beings need to make right now in the midst of this extraordinary global situation?
Well, thank you so much, old friend. You know, being asked this question, an entirely alien answer just jumped into my mind, different from anything I thought I would respond. I would have to say the major choice is imagination. And where did that come from? Because beneath the surface crust of consciousness, we know an awful lot. We don't just live in the universe lives in us. I believe that we are being moved philosophically, psychologically, physiologically, ethnically. We are being moved to the next stage. I once asked my old friend, Buckminster Fuller, a question. I said, and I was complaining about something, and he said, "Oh, gee, don't you know, don't fight it, build a better model." And I think that's where we are right now. If I were to be very positive, I think we are in the generative stage of building a better model, You know, we have been here before, historically. The fact is, I mean, just to give you a very more recent example, if you look at the horrors of the 14th century in Europe, the breakdown of everything, a plague that wiped out half the population, the destruction of, the destruction of all the old ways of being. And what is it followed by? A renaissance, rinascita, a rebirth in art, in science, in spirituality, in the understanding of who and what we are. So Shakespeare says, what a piece of work is man, how noble, there was an enormous breakthrough. And I believe from my work in 100 countries and studies of making depth studies of the human psyche, that we are in the time of the rising of the depths. Now, whenever you have the rising of the depths, you have a horrendous catharsis of the old ways of being, and especially, I may say, the old patriarchal ways of being. And that is what we're seeing. I mean, the rise of certain kinds of populists and nationalists, and we all know who they are. And we cannot believe that people fall for this kind of nonsense, but they do. Because whenever you also have this kind of whole system breakdown, you always have the rise of some kind of messianic political creature who says, I will make sense again for you. Trust me, I will fix it. This has happened in every case. I can go through history and just show you. And we're in that now, all over the world. And at the same time, there is the rising tide of an evolutionary incentive, a philosophy, a lure of becoming also worldwide. It doesn't get much attention from the media because it doesn't follow the old adage, if it bleeds, it leads. And this is not bleeding, this is growing. What you have here in this extraordinary book, Our Moment of Choice, are some of the most interesting ideas that are circulating around the planet of what we need to do to tell a better story, to build a new edifice of new ways of being in our physical development, our mental development, our schools, our, goodness knows, our governance. We are in that turmoil, but it's also in that turmoil is part of the alchemy of whole system change. And that is where we are. I wrote in my chapter about social artists. Social artists are people who bring the focus, the intentionality, the skill that an artist brings to his or her artistic form. But the form here is not the violin or the paintbrush, it is all of society. And this means that you work to dig beneath the surface crust of ordinary consciousness into the imagination. And I find that all over the world, people are imagining. Not only imagining, but they are looking for ways of bringing the contents of the cosmic imagination, which is brewing in our body-mind system into time. This is the time of great inventiveness, like the Renaissance, like the time of renewal. And this means it's a time for healing. We are by nature healers. That's just what we are. But I don't mean fix-it kind of healing. I mean healing as making whole, healing as looking at individuals and saying, I know there is so much in you. Let me tell you what I am seeing. It is a deep mutual honoring that evokes the lure of our new becoming. And we honor that new becoming in children, in elders, and in everybody in between. Oh, friends, you know, these are the times and we are the people. Other times in history thought they were it, they're wrong. This is it. This is it. This is truly the time of evolve or perish. And I think this has put a fire under the spirits of people all over the world to begin to say yes to the new story. Yes to the new mythos. A myth is something that never was, but is always happening. And oh, friends, we are living in the time of the great happening.
Thank you, Jean. You echoed Einstein, I'm sure consciously, who said that imagination is more important than knowledge. And the world is awash with knowledge. And I heard a statistic just the other day that between now and I think 2030, human knowledge is going to increase 30 million times. It's doubling every 12 and a half minutes. And so the world is exploded with knowledge. And that's what's going to do us in if we don't have a supernova explosion of imagination. Which this moment of choice is obviously all about. So thank you for that. I'll circle back to you in a moment, but I want to check if Ervin is here.
I just tried to reach him and asked him to try to dial in. So let's see if that happens.
Yeah,
Okay,
he hasn't responded, Jim, to the emails, so.
Okay, well then let's go to you, Jude, and I'll put the same question. Jean answered my question on you had to prioritize the choices humanity needs to make right now. What would be number one for you?
It's a great question. And Jim, I'm delighted to be here and with my friends and all our friends at Humanity Rising on this incredible moment of our moment of choice. For me, and I think Jean referred to this, it's how do we build a better model? And that really is our worldview. Our worldview is the model of our reality or our perceived reality. Whether it's right or wrong, it's the story we tell ourselves. So our worldview is the story we tell ourselves, and from that drives our decisions, our choices, our behaviors. And the problem is we've told ourselves a story, we've had a collective worldview that essentially is diseased insofar that it's a fragmented perception of the nature of reality itself. We've been told by mainstream science hitherto that the world is solely material, separate, made of separate things, and really has no meaning or purpose. It began nearly 14 billion years ago in a Big Bang, in the implicit chaos of a Big Bang, and somehow, through lots of randomness and accidents, it found a way of evolving to a state where beings such as ourselves could evolve, come into being, and somehow out of our brains, consciousness arose. Now, what if that's fundamentally wrong? And I'm really here to say it is fundamentally wrong. And leading edge science now is not just converging with universal spirituality and spiritual experiences and wisdom teachings of all ages, but actually integrating with those to actually reveal and support this perspective that we're all sharing, that reality is multidimensional, it is unified, our universe exists and evolves as a unified and non-locally connected entity. So Diane's point about our supernormal powers is absolutely right, whether it's our intuition, our ability to come together, or on our own to intend. All of those supernormal phenomena and powers are our innate heritage. And our universe is essentially arises, its appearance of separation arises from deeper realms of unity and intelligence and causality. So what we have is an emergent universe of which we are its microcosmic co-creators. Everything in existence has meaning and purpose. We are at the bow wave of an evolutionary impulse that began nearly 14 billion years ago, not in the implied chaos of a big bang. It wasn't big, it wasn't a bang, it was minute, and it was so exquisitely set up and fine-tuned that it was the first moment of a big breath that's ongoing. And so Jean is a master storyteller. And Jean, your point about imagination is so wonderful. But we're now, you know, it's both imagining, but this is the evidence-based understanding that perhaps can heal us, heal our collective dis-ease of who we are. We can remember who we really are, which is, you know, co-creators of the intelligence and the evolutionary impulse of our universe. And because the way our universe is co-created by cosmic mind, it is so cool. It is co-created as a meaningfully informed and holographic entity, literally a cosmic hologram. And a hologram, the whole is within every part. The part is within the whole. So this invites us to, as Einstein, again, we're in Einstein quoting territory here, to expand our circle, our spiral of compassion from the me to include the me, the we, to include the all. It's inviting us to think cosmic, feel global. We are all Gaians, act local. And for me, what our moment of choice invites us to do is to realize that unity is our power, that diversity, because unity is not uniformity, that diversity is our strength. And this is a cosmology of consciousness. It's a science of love. So it's inviting us and helping us realize that love in action is our hope. So that, for me, transforming and healing our worldview is absolutely vital to how then we can move forward together as, you know, a family of unity and diversity, a family, a human family that's part of a family of Gaia, that's part of a universal family.
Thank you, Jude. It is an extraordinary thing that right at the moment that we need a leap of imagination, as Jean is calling for, the understanding of the cosmos, and in fact, quantum reality, is undergoing a revolution in understanding and is beginning to describe a reality that, if we paid attention to it, would activate human imagination in ways that are unprecedented. We're undergoing another Copernican revolution. Jude, you're absolutely right. The new physics, the new cosmology is indicating a whole universe that is alive, that is interacting with information exchange every nano moment, and in which everything is interconnected in one great cosmic hologram, everything conscious, everything intelligent, everything connected with everything else, including us. And it's our lack of appreciation of this that leads to the paucity of imagination that Jean is talking about. So I'd love the two of you. I don't see Ervin with us yet. When he comes in, we'll bring him into the conversation. But I would love Jean and Jude for you to just develop this theme of the new science as the foundation for the new imagination.
Thank you so much. And by the way, Jude, I have some information for you. The great female Einstein, Louise Smithsman, and I have just completed a book on the new, the metaphysics of the new science, if you will, and what it has to say about a renovation of our mindsets on this earth at this time. And we use your work magnificently. So thank you, Jude. You don't even
Jean,
know.
and bless you. And Anna-Luce, I'm so looking forward to reading this book. It's going to be amazing. So thank you.
It surprises me. You know, just to pick up again on this, we're all repeating about Einstein. You probably don't know that I met Einstein when I was 8 years old.
I do.
And
yeah,
we went, my third grade class, but fourth grade, we went to Princeton, and there he came in, and he was very sweet. He had a lot of hair, a little big, he had a blue sock on and a red sock. And one of our smart aleck kids said, Mr. Einstein, how can we get to be as smart as you? And he said, read fairy tales. We did not like that answer at all. So another smart aleck kid said, well, Mr. Einstein, how can we get to be smarter than you? And he said, read more fairy tales. Well, I got to talk to him for about 2 minutes afterwards. And I said, Mr. Einstein, are you talking about imagination? Yeah, imagination. He says, I am a very poor mathematician. My students do that work, but my main quality is imagination. I go sailing on the light waves. Imagination contains it all. And so I think that's why I'm bringing it up again, because I fear that with so much television, et cetera, and so many little pixels from the screen coming into you, that it inhibits the deeper imaginal forces in our mind-body systems. This is a big, big concern to me. And because imagination leads to new stories. And I think what has happened around the world is we have run out of our own story. And I'll tell you what I'm up to now. As you know, I'm the chairman of the largest theater on Broadway in New York. And I'm starting all over the world, with your help and the help of everyone here, communities of practice around the world. We have the state of the art in the outreach of streaming. And between everybody here and a few more, we know how to create communities where people are practicing the exploration of the mind, body, psyche, spiritual genius that we can contain to really reinforce these higher qualities and then take these qualities into the world in substantive change and action. So that's my idea, and that's what I'm doing now, probably for the rest of my life. What are you up to, Jude?
Oh gosh, well, we're playing so beautifully. I love what you're doing. Always have, Jean, and I feel that imagination and storytelling is vital at this time. So as you say, as we're all saying, by telling a better story, we can, as we re-story, not just our understanding of reality, but our experiencing it and embodying of unity, awareness, and unity and radical diversity, then we can literally restore our relationship with the whole world. And as you say, Einstein followed when he was 16. He followed in his thoughts a beam of light. And he followed it so carefully and so honestly that he realized that what he'd been taught as physics was not a deeper reality. And so what I've been doing, what I'm up to, what I've been doing is following a thought and seeing how a thought manifests itself. in an informed and holographic multidimensional universe, which is a great thought, a great thing, and where, you know, mind and consciousness aren't something we have, they're what we and the whole world are. So if we can imagine together, we can image, we can bring into being what our dreams are. And I'm so glad, I think Ervin's with us, but I'm hoping he's going to talk perhaps a little bit about whole systems and how when whole systems are ready to evolve and emerge, the old breaks down as the new becomes potentized and potentialized. And then there is what's called a flickering, where the old, as it's breaking down, sort of reaches out to the new. And if there is sufficient consciousness, sufficient connectivity, then a leap can be made. And it's the new, that emergent, evolutionary, new potential that moves on. And that is metamorphosis.
That is you know something.
Let's bring in Jean. Let's bring in Ervin.
Please,
Just for a moment here. Hi.
Hello, Jim. I'm sorry. I had some problem with the connection, but finally that's resolved.
Good to see you.
Just to briefly catch you up. We've been celebrating, as you know, the publication of our mode of choice. We've been interviewing Jude.
I have been seeing you. You couldn't hear me, but I saw it, followed it. I was with you now from the very beginning. And so I was waiting to get on, but finally the connection worked.
Yeah, well, we turn it over to you then, and I guess maybe start with the same question. If you had to prioritize choices that humanity needs to make right now, what in your judgment would be the most important choice? Jean indicated imagination. Jude indicated a new narrative for humanity based on the latest researches in physics and cosmology. What would you say, Ervin? And to Jude's point a moment ago, maybe you could also say something about how our choices fit into the whole system shift of
I can answer this in probably
taking place.
Probably in a relatively simple way. I have a sense that what is happening today is coming in the nick of time. A far worse future would have come to us if we didn't have this pandemic, if we didn't have the motivation to change. We are in the nick of time. We are moving down the wrong way. We're moving down in a very self-centered, power and money-oriented way. So what it is that what we need to do is to come back, reconnect to ourselves, to our deeper selves. We are an informed being. We are not a chance phenomenon. The universe is not a chance phenomenon. It couldn't be here. There wouldn't be time to create all this complexity in the universe if it's just purely by random interaction. So we are an informed being, informed by a higher will. And this doesn't have to be theology. It doesn't have to be a transcendent being. It's something that's encoded in us, in every cell of our body, in every quantum in the universe, and is in us, in our brain, in our whole being. So what do we need to do is to become what we really are, what we have forgotten. We have forgotten that we belong to each other and to the world, to the biosphere and to the universe. This entire program today is like a dream come true. It's something that I would have loved to hear 10 years ago, 20 years ago. It seemed utopia. And now all the things we are saying are being heard by us and by those who listen to us and listen to each other and spread. This is a moment of hallelujah. Unfortunate, and it's very unfortunate, but it's a price apparently we have to pay. That this moment has come about due to a crisis of health, a viral crisis, which requires and takes sacrifice, human sacrifice. It is unfortunate. But what else, we could ask ourselves in retrospect, would have been sufficiently powerful to move us out of the rut of moving toward a degenerating world, which is being taken apart by a powerful thought of being purely mechanistic chance phenomenon, being purely the survival of the fittest, being the most powerful, the most able to outcompete the others, and that being just pure and mechanistic universe where nothing but the laws of mechanisms, the laws of Newtonian physics hold, and there is nothing else. There is no mind, no consciousness, no principle of life. This was a dead-end street. We got ourselves into it the last 100, 150, maybe 200 years since Newton already. And now we have got to be talked about changing, about shifting, world shift, global shift. We talked about moving on to a new paradigm. It was talk. And in the meanwhile, these power centers were going on the same way as they have been going. It took something powerful to shake this system up. We still don't know how it's shaking it and what will happen. We are still in the midst of it. But something has launched. And that something that has launched is essential, absolutely essential. We should not afford, could not afford to stay a moment longer the old ways, the old crisis-provoking, separateness dominated, selfish dominated, power and money hunger ways. That would be taking things apart, taking apart the unity of the world, taking apart the oneness, disregarding that sense that we all have potentially in us, the potential of unrequired, unrelenting, and totally given, totally absolute love for all the things that are around us, for this wonderful self-organizing universe, the biosphere, which is not here by chance. Max Planck has said at one time on one of his last lectures that even when you consider how the proton and the neutron are joining in the nucleus of an atom, you must come to the conclusion that there must be a higher intelligence behind it. Purely by chance, it could not be. Not a single atom could come about. Certainly the DNA of a fruit fly already is so complex that purely chance interactions would have taken longer than the age of the universe since the Big Bang to produce it. So this is a universe which has life, which has will, which has a higher destiny, and we are part of it. We have forgotten it, we have ignored it, we have rejected, refused it. We talked about purely superstition. We talked about spirituality as though it was only imagination in the wrong way, not in the right way that you'll be talking about with Jean and others today, but the wrong kind of fantasy. Now we realize that it is the right way to know that we are part of a living, meaningful, purpose-oriented world. And this world is such that on Earth it can create a higher level of life, a higher level of consciousness. And maybe that creation of the higher consciousness is what's behind it all, what's behind evolution on Earth, possibly evolution wherever it takes place. And we now know that life is likely to be far more frequent in the universe than we thought before. It doesn't need all that fantastic serendipity of a planet just in the right position to be able to have the possibility of life. It takes place in many parts of the universe. Even in interstellar space, there is atoms, complex atoms and molecules are being created. So this is a universe working itself toward a higher level. We are a species with consciousness, and we, that species with consciousness, can carry this forward. If we fail in this, another species will come, but it might take 100,000, if not millions of years to reach that level. But we are here and we can do it. We have forgotten it. We have went off in the wrong tangent. Now we are being called back. Let's minimize the sacrifice, avoid it if we can. But it's a sacrifice that whose time has come. The dominant feeling today that I have is hallelujah. Finally, we're recognizing, we're realizing what we are, what the world is. Let's carry it forward. Let's do it together. We are in the nick of time, but I think we can still do it.
Thank you, Ervin. I think you demonstrated in your remarks a bridge between the imagination that Gene was calling for and the new cosmology that Jude was calling for. And I think this brings us to a close to this particular session. I want to thank you. And I'll now turn it over to Kurt. And I understand I'm now going to have final statements from all the panelists. And then we will close the session for today. Kurt?
Yeah, Jim, thanks so much. And what we're going to do now is we're going to make a turn to each of the speakers to take a minute and give some final comments on the discussion here today. And I think all of you that have joined us, whether you're in a morning, an afternoon, an evening, or even a night, this is a great way to spend that time. So let's circle around with some final comments. And we'll start with Diane Marie Williams.
Okay. Wow. Thank you, everyone, for this powerful program. I am deeply moved by your words. So the message I'd like to close with is just to say we should never underestimate the power of our everyday choices, as they will truly determine our future. And every thought we have, every word we say, every action we take matters. And sometimes the smallest acts of kindness, whether that's a prayer or a heart-based intention, can have profound, immeasurable effects that we may never see. So while we cannot predict all of the possible outcomes that our heart-based choices will make, one thing that is certain is that they'll be part of the cosmic field where we're all connected as one, and they'll have a significant impact on our collective destiny. So what we do in the days and years ahead really matters. So let's choose wisely. And I just wanted to make a quick announcement that we'll be honoring, the Source of Synergy Foundation will be honoring Gene and Ervin with the Synergy Superstar Award on Monday, November 16th at 10 a.m. Pacific for their lifetime work in creating synergy in the world. They are such a blessing to this planet, and we invite all of you to join us to honor them. Thank you.
Great, Diane. Thanks so much. And now let's go to Bob Atkinson.
Thank you, Kurt, and all of the panelists that are here with it. This has been really such a powerful, inspiring moment to bring our book out into. And I just want to say a big thank you to all of you who are here sharing this moment with us. And just to offer the concluding thought that all the contributors of this remarkable book share a collective vision of global transformation, leading us to our inherent wholeness, to our collective maturity. This is what every single member of the human family is here for now. We each have a role to play in this critical moment in time. This is our moment to unite in purpose, to ensure our collective well-being through caring, respect, compassion, and cooperation. Humanity is coming of age. In fact, the very nature of the evolution of consciousness gives us an abiding hope for the future.
Bob, thanks so much. And now over to Jude Currivan.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Kurt. Perhaps for me to just reiterate this sense of the cosmic hologram of our universe. Literally, the wholeness of it is expressed in every single part and every part within the whole. We're more than interconnected. We're fundamentally one, as we're saying. But the oneness and the unity is expressed in radical, gorgeous, glorious, creative diversity. So this new emergent, ancient understanding of reality for me, again, invites us to act local, because we are unique. So whatever our heart song, whatever our heartbreak guides us to act local, as Diane said, we never know the ripples of our thoughts and words and actions. We never know where they ripple, but we know that they do ripple. To expand that to the me and the we, where we remember that we are all children of Gaia. We're all children of the universe, but it's time perhaps for us to grow up and to take our place, to take our potential destiny as co-evolutionary partners with Gaia and our universe, consciously evolve. And then, because we now have that multidimensional, unifying framework to think cosmic, to understand that we are, everything in existence is meaningful, everything in existence is purposeful, and to step into that superpower, that supernormal superpower that is our heritage and our destiny. So it's, I echo Ervin, hallelujah. What a time, what a moment. And it truly is our moment of choice for each and every one of us and all of us.
No, Jude, thank you. And so now let's go to Jean Houston.
Well, friends, we are not encapsulated bags of skin dragging around a dreary little ego. We are organism, environment, and we are God stuffed, impacted into this biodegradable space-time suit. And I think we are at the stage where the real work of humanity begins. This is the time and this is the place where we partner creation in the recreation of ourselves, in the restoration of the biosphere, in the assuming of a new kind of culture, a culture of kindness, where we live daily life in such a way as to be reconnected and charged and made aware of the source of our reality until our inherent inventiveness and, yes, imagination is liberated so that we can be fully co-creators, fully engaged in the world and our work. These are the times and we are the people.
Jean, yeah, thank you. All right. So over now to Ervin Laszlo.
You have said everything. It's wonderful. It's terrific. And I'm very happy to be a part of it. What I want to say is let's hold hands virtually for now. Let's give a big hug virtually. And let's go together because we are finally changing direction. We are moving beyond to where we were. And that is a moment to celebrate. It's wonderful what is coming about. That's the positive side. The negative side is the suffering and the sacrifice, human sacrifice also. That we must cope with, deal with. But we must not forget that we are at a tipping point and we have started off going the right way. Let's go together.
Oh, Ervin, thank you so much. And before we go to Deborah here, I'll take my quick turn. You know, it was a big surprise to me that in 2015, the great ally would come from evolutionary biology and the proofs of group selection and multi-level selection, and then the rewriting of sociobiology by David Sloan Wilson and E.O. Wilson at Harvard, all about the cooperative view of evolution and natural selection. And this was a complete sea change. And then we were invited over to the Dalai Lamas in November to explain this all to him. And hopefully this good news from mainstream science about evolution and cooperation will trickle down quickly. So, okay, now over to Deborah Moldow. And I think she then knows where we go after she completes.
Thank you, Kurt. And thank you, all of you, wonderful, beloved evolutionary leaders. It's always so exciting for me when we bring together writers who contributed to this book, Our Moment of Choice, because every one of them is so full of hope and inspiration and really deep wisdom that can help us to forge a new path forward. And I see in the chat that many of you are also in this community of evolving humanity. You are making a difference in the world with everything that you think, speak, feel, and do. So I'm delighted that you've joined us today and joined the call to action that is the book, Our Moment of Choice. And I also noticed in the chat that people were questioning why, if we're at such a hopeful moment, are we seeing so much divisiveness in our politics? And as Ervin referenced, so much suffering brought about by the virus and also the conditions of vast inequality and destruction of our environment. And what I'm seeing is that a certain level of chaos is necessary for transformational level change. And it is my prayer that all of the suffering that's happening on the planet now is the tilling of the soil. It's the birth pains. It's what you need to go through to get to the next level. And we are doing it right now, and we are doing it together. I loved when Jude spoke of the science of love. This is how this new spirituality is infusing what Kurt calls in his chapter with David Sloan Wilson, hard science. It's not hard anymore. It's alive. Everything is alive. The earth is alive. The universe is alive. We're all part of it. And we are, as Ervin said, this is our opportunity to align with the higher destiny of the universe, the higher consciousness that is urging us to evolve. And Jean refers to that as the lure of becoming. This is, as Jean said, the moment when the real work of humanity has begun. And the book, Our Moment of Choice, is an invitation. It's not just a product. We'd love it if you would purchase the book, but it's much, much more than a book. This is the moment that calls to all of us. And my deepest gratitude to every single one of you who is part of our moment of choice. And now we're going to go to Savinier to finish us off here.
Wow, this is such a profound palette and mandala of knowledge and insight, and so many things that consolidate in this book that, like you said, Deborah, is not just a book. It actually is a navigator for us, an incentive for us to really understand and to really be in the being of understanding that moment of choice. And I know that Jean quoted Buckminster Fuller, and I wanted to quote, if I remember correctly, but he said, you cannot change how someone thinks, but you can give them a tool to use, which will lead them to think differently. And I find that that tool has now arrived. And it is a moment of choice, whether it's in the book or whether you actually take inspired actions and really understand the essential beingness of this moment of choice, and that we're not in this alone. I think that is so vital for us to understand. We are definitely not in this alone, but it also requires us to take the responsibility, the sovereignty, and the integrity of who we are, to really also invite ourselves into this common narrative and moment of choice where we all are in it together, and therefore have solidarity to making the choices, whether they're everyday small choices. They are all ripples of impact, whether we see them, feel them, or see the impact that they make. And it's also such a vital reminder and recognition of our innate capacity of being able to make a choice. We have a choice. We've been given that innate capacity. And it also, like so many of you talked about, the superpowers. The superpowers are what we all have innately: resilience, courage, love, compassion, unity, solidarity, a drive. Those are our superpowers, and we all have a variety of them. Or I think it was Jeanne d'Arc who said, "I'm not afraid. I was born for this time." All of us here, we are born for this time. So let's really use that imagination that Jean so vividly invited us into, and really step into our superpowers, feel them, taste them, and also use these different tools to navigate us towards the future that we need to imagine. And once again, thank you to all of our speakers, you knowledgeable, amazing souls who, just deliver all this wisdom that is so, so needed at this time. And also to all of you who are watching, thank you. You are the ripples of impact. So please do take a breath and really indulge in all that has been conveyed. And with that, I hand it over to you, Jim.
Thank you, Sabina. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, panel. And as Sabina just said, thank you, viewers. I thank the 200 people that have shown up today for the Zoom session. I want to thank the 15 or 20,000 people that are watching this over our 40 plus partner channels, Facebook Live and around the world. And I'd like to just summarize the session by making 2 points. One is that I think the greatest act of imagination is really embracing the new cosmology. In a fractionated world of fake news and competing perceptions, ideologies, theories, patterns of minds, culture, and politics, probably the only place one could go for truth is science right now. And the science that is now emerging, as Jude said, and as Jean said, and as Ervin said, is really, if you distill it down, the science of love. What is love but that kind of gravitational pull that binds everything together into a synergistic whole? That's what the physicists and the cosmologists are now saying is really true. It's really true. And beginning there, allowing the facts of our existence to blow our minds and understand that we are in a universe that loves itself, from the smallest little Planck entity to the biggest supercluster galaxy. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And that's why, Ervin, I love your enthusiasm. I love that you believe we're in a wonderful moment where we're being given some very important information from the earth through a little tiny itsy bitsy microbe to aid us on our way. So I can't think of a better way to start our fall program than accentuating our moment of choice in such a mythopoetic way. I encourage everyone to buy the book. It's an important work, 43 perspectives on the future of humankind. I want to also offer the courses that Ubiquity University is offering, and the send out that we just did over the weekend. As we make our choices, it's important that we're informed. And we've created small little micro courses, little nuggets, just a couple hours long, that you can look at, that will deepen your understanding and increase your capacity to navigate through an increasingly hyper-complex world. So thank you, everyone. This has been a wonderful, wonderful session. I'd like to now just announce that tomorrow we'll be having our 85th session on Humanity Rising. And we're going to pause and have a dialogue with a very wise man, a man by the name of David Karchari, who's the spiritual leader of Sunrise Ranch in Colorado. He's appeared once or twice on Humanity Rising, and I've been struck by the depth of his perspective on what's happening in the world today. I think, as the panel very exquisitely made clear, now we're in a very nuanced, fragile, dangerous, potentiated moment. So however we can garner the depth to enable us to make the choices that must be made in the right way, with all the competing forces that now are at play, that's the path of wisdom. We've had a lot of wisdom today. So Jean, Ervin, Jude, Deborah, Bob, Kurt, Sabina, thank you all. And we'll see you again tomorrow, same time, same station, every day, starting at 5 o'clock to 6:30 p.m. Central European time. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow.